Weird science
is the revolution.
Batman Superman World's Finest, Eric. Number 25.
Oversized anniversary issue.
And you have two stories. First story by Mark Waid, Steve Pugh on art with Adriana Lucas and Steve Wands. We'll get to the prologue, which is actually what will continue the series going on. But this first story, kind of weird, especially coming out of that Action Comics story by Jason Aaron, where you have the team up with Superman and the Joker.
Yeah.
You have a kind, and so then you get
even a weird story, because this is something from the past of the World's Finest, which is already taking place in the past. And it's it's a weird cool down issue to a degree from our Kingdom Come story that we've been dealing with for the past few months. So it's like a weird little side story that doesn't feel like it feels like it matters even less than that normally does, which again, people will be angry I said that. It's just that this takes place in a past that may or may not be in continuity. It's funny sometimes. So usually doesn't mean much besides, so you might get a decent fun story out of it.
You can. Now, the weird idea of this, for me, I don't know, the timing. Maybe we could have been served better to have the anniversary 25. Now, I don't know how they're doing the trades, if some of the trades have more issues than the usual 6, 5, whatever. But maybe have this big giant, to nail out some of the stuff from the Kingdom Come story, and then go, and maybe even have, as a deal, have the prologue deal. But it's okay. I mean, you get Joker and Lex Luthor, the world's vilest. But
that's funny.
Again, and there's some funny things in here. But again, I kept thinking to myself, almost like, is this Mark Waid? Oh, you had Superman team up with the Joker and that? Well, I'll show you what this is. And it just felt kind of weird and didn't really matter much. But
it doesn't matter much, but the idea is it can be fun and an idea where...
Yeah, it's okay.
You have a World's Finest book that takes place in the past of normal continuity. This takes place before, so when you do jump in this, you get a crazy kind of early 80s feeling Joker, and you get the classic, purple and green, colored up Lex Luthor and that classic suit and stuff like that. So where else are you going to get that right now in DC Comics? So if you're a fan of old comic books and stuff like that, this is the perfect place to get it.
Well, don't we get that in a flashback when Lex hit with Trump? Oh, no, that'll be different than the Superman. So when you get it to it, most people have come to the idea book is just for fun anyway. They're not going to nail it down on, oh, well, this wouldn't happen here and that wouldn't happen there. So I do like it, and I do really like the setup. Now, I don't know how you're going to take it when they get to the Rock of Eternity. You're one that doesn't like to play much there, but when you have an idea that Lex Luthor, smartest guy, he finds it's a real neat idea, a suicide note that's also a map, but if you read it, you go insane. They have even this.
We need to get the Joker, who's already insane. It won't be able to affect him, whatever supernatural power the suicide note holds, so he can read it. Because I've been able, me being Lex Luthor, one of the smartest men in the world, been able to use my cryptography skills to go and break down the clues and stuff like that. But I can't look at it very long, because even me, the smartest man in the world, I don't want to lose my mind. So we need the Joker to finish this.
He's like, I have been reading it, but I can't read it too long, so I'm getting there, but I gotta get you. And I do like it. It's almost like the Darkhold over at Marvel. Everything has this, the idea that if you read it, you'll go insane. But I love having the idea of the Joker. Plus, with the Joker being so insane that he kind of sees different realities, things like that, which is pretty cool. I like that they're dressing him up and then he's got his shorts. I mean, there's some visual play too. And with the idea, I think it plays out really well that you're in this, World's Finest book. Dan Mora's art's great, but this takes place before, and then you get that almost art that does feel like that you jump back to a different age.
An earlier age.
And I thought that was pretty neat.
From the way Superman's costume looks, Batman's costume looks.
Yeah, and again, the art's different because it is a different artist, Steve Pugh, but I do think it fits. And I like some of the things like Joker says, and it's funny too because it really does point out Joker against Batman. Batman is a miserable guy, but he does his thing. Lex has no time for fools, Eric, as they say. But he has to. But he hates it. But then it's kind of funny. They actually work well together to the point where even Joker kind of points out, we got the same color schemes. I mean, you're against Superman, I'm against Batman. And Joker desperately wants to have small talk about the different things going on with Lex. He doesn't suffer fools, I say. But it is funny that he has to do this. But even so, he puts a collar on his neck that he says, I
actually kind of wish we would have ended the series with, not the series, but the issue with the idea where Lex is the one who invented the idea of the brain bombs for Task Force X, something, because this collar is essentially like a brain bomb that he's putting on Joker, because if he gets out of line, boom, your head's gone.
And I like this more for this story mainly because you can see it. It seems like that kind of tech. Like if they said, we put a brain, it wouldn't feel right. So I do like this collar. But again, then, Joker just wants to run around and, hey, let's get going. Let's do this. Then he shaves his head. And I'm telling you, I probably shouldn't have laughed so much at when he wants to be just like Lex and kind of shaves his head. don't know why it made me giggle.
I couldn't laugh at it because when he shaves his head all haphazardly, it looks like you when you try to shave your head.
That's why I laughed there. There you go. You fulfilled the joke that I needed. Yeah, I actually thought Eric's going to say
he's a lunatic.
With the hair and all that shit around. I will mention, too, that when you have this story, again, it's kind of a throwaway story. You're going to have some fun. You're going to maybe even do a little hey, I'm going to show you what the Joker is kind of about, or I'm going to show you the Lex, but remaining kind of fun in an overall deal. We're going to have the same concept later with Space Mall, and one gets it a little better. One gets it right in the point of not just making it a farce, because this actually feels like a old school story that we would get back in the Silver Age even. And so when you go and do it, I thought it was pretty good where Joker's like, hey, I got an umbrella. It's got all these colors. And Lex is like, we're supposed to be inconspicuous. He's like, yeah, but
my favorite bro, I traded from the Penguin.
And it ends up working out at the end. But once they get to the idea,
and it does look great, the umbrella, just because it reminds me of my I'm trying to think of the term, the Superpowers Kenner Penguin figure back in the 80s, stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks good. It's even falling apart, it looks like at one point. You end up where they get to the subway. Okay, you said that. And what it is Joker has read the suicide note / map, and he said, hey, we got to get to cavern. They spell it out, and Lex is trying to work it out, and they go to the subway.
Draw an inverse ziggurat on the wall here. It's just it's a power Shazam symbol with the thunderbolt. They go and do that. The wall becomes, just transparent. They're able to walk through it, and you get to the magical subway train, which again, you don't see it very often anymore, but the idea of the magical subway train, it's great seeing, showing up here, especially for the era. And the thing is, with this being in the past, I do wonder where the Wizard Shazam is here, if it would be the current Shazam, because this is always kind of wonky, the idea of the world's finest continuity and timeline, because Billy Batson as Shazam has been in this, but he's only recently become Shazam in the main, continuity. So it's weird to have this post-crisis 1980s era Shazam. But I'm just wondering, the Rock Eternity's empty. Would the Wizard Shazam be here at this point, trying to find the champion still? Is it Billy would he be here? I don't know.
That's kind of what it played at one point, because you ended up in this, whoever did this and whatnot, which I thought was going to be more of a huge reveal at the end. Things that the idea that the person who wrote it wasn't worthy. They ended up having to say, hey, I ended up offing myself. So when you get that, you think that he wasn't worthy enough to have the power of Shazam, or whatever happens when we go. But when you do that, I realize now why I like this, Eric. Because this basically is me and you. You're Lex, and I'm stupid, goofy Joker. I come by, even the idea is I gotta draw an upside down cigarette. What is that, a vegetable? I'm this is shit that we would have said.
It's such a weird, sight gag, though, to have the Joker cut his hair with a straight razor to look all insane because he wants to be twinsies with Lex Weaver with the purple and green, just for Lex to say, get that man clothes and a toupee, so we don't even have the hairless Joker anymore.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know that you want a hairless Joker. The toupee was kind of funny, though. It's funny because he doesn't have one for himself, but then you play off when sometimes it looks like he did. I thought it was funny. But once you get the lightning bolt, the upside on cigarette, I'm like, oh shit, Shazam shit, we're a Rock of Eternity. One of the other lines, I'm telling you, just some of the lines I thought were hilarious. And they were just throwaways when they go past the 7 deadly enemies of man.
Yeah.
and Joker goes, look, it's your to-do list. That made me laugh for some reason. I'm like, pride and regret. Yeah, it is. It's pretty good.
Look, the thing is, I'm a silly son of a bitch looking at the 7 deadly sins here, and I thought to myself, there's no way laziness is on Lex to-do list.
Well, I wish that
it's so silly. That's what I thought.
I wish that they had laziness at the end, twisted and turned it around, because maybe that would be the play. If once he gets done the mall, then he could go later. Yeah, but you're right. You're right, Eric. You just ruined it for me. Don't like it as much. I like the training. Even then, you do have that play where Lex, you could play this off of Lex being a man of science, and he's just going to believe what he's believing. But Joker even has to remind him, and they remind him, the idea, we're following a map. We walk through walls. Nothing is out of the ordinary. Because Lex at first is what's going on? This shouldn't be. But then he kind of comes to it.
And he also talks about the idea of being a man of science, but also knowing that magic does exist and trying to embrace the idea of it and knowing when it is around him.
Did you think the idea when he's magic does exist? Because, he's been looking into it because it's one of Superman's weaknesses. It made me giggle. Yeah. But, and then he's going to go in and jump into, they're going to open doors. Hey, I kind of reading this upside down. Open doors, you get, dinosaur cops.
Fighting dinosaur cops. I'm like, why does Mark Waid love dinosaurs so much in different situations?
Usually would say that, a Brett Booth, me and you used to come at, he would always draw dinosaurs on his Twitter. He loved them, and he would get mad if you drew a dinosaur in a comic that wasn't correct. He'd get upset. But I'd say Dan Mora the same, but this isn't Dan Mora, so it's Mark Waid. It's just Mark Waid doing this in a script, it seems, unless they're like, well, let's get some synergy in or whatnot. But then you get to see, Jonah Hex, which we haven't seen Jonah Hex in a while. And a lot of people, we wanted to see when they went back in time in maybe in the Superman deal. But yeah, there's Jonah Hex. Yeah, the old East. So then you end up where they are getting towards this giant, Rock of Eternity forge.
The Heart of Eternium.
Yeah, the Heart of Eternium. And it is, if you grab it, you can just wish everything. It did remind me of
it'll wish you what you want most in life.
It reminded me of the Dragon Balls. Is what it actually reminded me of when they went. And I'm like, is somebody going to get underpants? Because that's what I want to see with the whole deal. Oolong, poor Oolong, wishing for underpants. But they see this, and there's going to be that bit of a fight back. Yeah, really. They're going to be a fight, and it looks. I mean, that thing that comes after him does look horrific, though. I don't know how.
You have the Guardian of the Heart of Eternium and the Rock of Eternity here, and it's pretty much a Demogorgon Madball. It looks like a Demogorgon body with a giant Madball head full of teeth. Or even if you think of Stephen King's Langoliers back in the early 90s.
That's what I thought of, Eric.
That's what it looks like.
You know me, Eric. I thought right away Langoliers. Is that how you say it? Langoliers.
The Langoliers.
Aren't those lights? See, I'm the Joker. Isn't that good? I'm just like the Joker with the cigarette. But yeah, and so they're going to grab the heart. But again, you end up having what Lex wants. Well, I'm going to grab this. There'll be no Superman. I'll kill all this. Will be great. But then the Joker yoinks it out. And it's crazy with that when he gets it. You see all the things that he would do. Now, like the Action Comics by Jason Aaron, we do get narration of what the Joker and what you end up having Lex see, but I think it's a little more.
It works exactly the same way.
I think it works a little better because we're at least told what it is. It's not just
the most horrible thing
animated by white maggots. And I'm starting to think, okay, I'm almost like they're doing us a favor, not showing us, not the other thing in the action.
It's the upside down.
It was the greatest thing I ever heard in my life. It was a tribute, all that stuff. But you end up here where he's just like, awful stuff that he sees, and you get the look of Lex where he is just like horrified, which you wouldn't think that he'd be scared of just anything.
And the understanding that Joker is able to do this, take the Heart of Eternium from him because he was able to take Lex's people before they left LexCorp and deactivate the collar on him because they were more afraid of Joker than Lex Luthor.
Yeah, and again, that shows you the difference between, and really in this too, where Lex, he has that specific deal, and it's just get rid of Superman. He's mad at Superman. They even talk about, hey, why are you so mad about Superman? Is it the cape? And it's an alien that's coming in and willing his way. Lex doesn't like that, Lex. So it worked. Yeah, you've said a lot of times that Lex is right.
Lex is right.
Yeah, so when you have that, like, his plan is it's very personal, but it is at least, not everybody's going to die or everybody's going to suffer, though they could by the end of that. But
and they totally would if Superman wasn't around.
Oh, yeah, it'd be big trouble. But it's still that thing because, again, then Lex might just say, hey, look at me, and become Super Lex anyway and rise up. But Joker just wants just awful.
I just imagine it would be like Emperor Joker just earlier on that it did happen with him. He took the fifth dimensional powers and stuff like that and made everything his own.
Yeah, and so that's where they start tug-of-warring. They're grabbing it and it shatters. So they end up in Lex's pissed.
Lex ends up blowing it up because he needs to make sure that he saves the day. He does want what he wants, but it's not worth the idea of Joker getting what he wants, and he destroys the Heart of Eternium.
I actually thought he was going to grab it and, like, instead he'll make Lexor. How about Lexor?
Lexor is still out there without a wish.
Oh, Lexor, I know. Well, maybe he wishes Lexor to not have problems.
Actually, I say that. I don't think Lexor proper is in this continuity anymore.
Okay, so you end up where Lex is pissed. It does shatter, and he's trying to get back in, and he can't. And he's like, oh, my God, you cost me. You chalk skin freak. See, that's what you say to me after every episode.
I thought I was the chalk skin freak.
Well, you are, but still. You're more of the skim milk.
They call me powder. You
have the chalk skin, yeah, powder. That brings up bad things. You end up where, though, it's gone, and then Lex is like, oh, God. And he says, I don't forget. I don't forgive. Joker, of course, doesn't. I love the idea that if this came down to anything, like the Joker's going to warn Batman about it, he's going to warn this, the idea they're just going to think he's
yes, Luthor and a magic train and everything. Take me back there. I can show you. Oh, that insane Joker.
and the best is even if
there was
Batman
a monster and cowboys and a stone heart and the world was mine.
It's so funny. And then if he said, well, yeah, show me that, you can't
classic
because
Joker.
It's gone. Yeah, classic. So that's kind of the... the twist at the end. That's kind of the twist at the end. That really is funny in that way of comics that it did happen, but it
nobody
sounds so
will ever
crazy.
know that Lex Luthor was their savior.
Yeah, and I love the idea. Like, he's watching Superman. He's just pissed. Superman's just flying around. he's like, instead, he wafts through the sky carefree and safe, basking in the misguided adoration of millions in trouble. The idea that he wanted to kill Superman, he completely pushes aside to I saved the world. I'm Lex Luthor. It kind of works well, though, in this. It works well for me in even the Superman book, where it doesn't connect, but the idea of things that he did bad in the past, and he's trying to kind of get better, but things like this still remain. Nobody would know about this, so Lex would never tell anybody
until
the time
he
that he almost
Apex
did it.
Lex and totally ruins everything.
You know what I mean? But it's still the idea where he sits there and he still gets jealous after all that, trying to find this crazy way to kill Superman. He's still jealous because he thinks he saved the world when it wouldn't have needed saving if he didn't do it.
It does feel
so
weird, though, because he was able to do all of this. I don't remember being in the story the idea that he was never able to get back to the Rock of Eternity, because that would still be a place you'd want to check out for everything that you saw.
Pounding on the wall. That was the only thing he said. It cost me dearly.
Did he do the cigarette?
No, but maybe he should have, but he's like, unfettered access the whole time in space. And he's like, shit, I like where there's just, you're walking down the street and you see Lex half in and half out of an abandoned stairwell of a subway, just in his power armor. What the hell is that guy doing? Looks like he's hanging out in Chester.
It's a city, I get it.
It's funny, though, that you would just, look, Lex, what's he doing? Probably getting meth. Yeah,
he's got rocket boots. He'll be able to get out of there, no problem.
Yeah, he does have rocket boots. Joker was mad. He wanted to use rocket boots. But yeah, so you have that. Again, at the end of it, I thought, this is my exact thoughts. You know what? That wasn't so bad, but you know what? It didn't have Batman and Superman, and it kind of confused me of why we went through all that for kind of.
We got a backup for that. Don't worry.
Well, we do have a backup, and the backup has some wonky progressions, I thought, but it is impossible. Prologue, written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, teamup, bon volant, letters by Steve Wands, and you end up having a dual kind of story at one point, but it's Superman, and I love when they do this because there's a lot of people out there that will give DC crap, Superman in general, oh man, look, he's imprisoning animals. He's a jerk. And you'll always have a writer eventually, a little space between, but no, he's holding them until he finds a better place for them, right? I think they said that at the Philadelphia Zoo. You had it a lot,
had that
right?
With Dan Jurgens' thing when he had a few of those alien species he kept alive on Earth who couldn't, live in the atmosphere until he's able to transport them back to their home planet or another suitable planet.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought Damian was doing with all those people down in that prison of his.
No,
he was waiting for another planet.
He was waiting to rewire their brain with magic.
He wasn't waiting for their homeworld to come back or say, that's crazy.
Blockbuster's home. I'm not Blockbuster. Mammoth's homeworld.
Yeah, they're exactly. The Mammoth world. You end up where some of these going down. What you have two things that writers seem to get a brick wall against and seem like they have to explain a lot. This and the Phantom Zone. First off, they have to nail down what the Phantom Zone even is. But it's always like, is that torture? Is it not? And you're like, no, what it is comics. And when you have the zoo and things like that, I always just think Superman gets bored. He wants to go to the zoo, but they crowd him. He can't go to the San Diego Zoo, Philadelphia Zoo. Forget
Clark Kent
right?
can.
He would go to, but also he isn't as rich as Clark Kent as a Michael Jackson. He can't buy it for the day. Like those assholes buy Disney. Yeah, but everybody's there. He doesn't like being around people. Why do you think he has a Fortress of Solitude? It's because he hates people, Eric.
What you're doing, look, I understand that completely, but what you're doing is giving everybody their argument back. He has this for selfish reasons.
No, what I'm saying is it's damn right true. You don't have to make up things. He just wants to have a zoo that he goes and look at these things. These animals are like, send me home. He's like, you shut your mouth. He writes down on a note, that squanch does not get fed for a week. That's what happens.
Pikachu lizard thing that I have here.
I'm looking at these things. I don't know why, but that one thing seems like it's like something from Fraggle Rock or something.
Yeah, it's got a long snoot.
That snoot thing, yeah. Probably called Snoot, too. And probably he would go, hey, what's up, Snoot? And he's like, my name's George. He's like, no, you're Snoot when you're imprisoned by me, asshole. See, that's how Superman is.
But he's there. Superman.
He's there, and he's like, oh, my God. It goes really over oh, my goodness, how are you doing here? It's feeding time. But then he gets sucked through a portal. And it looks great. The way that is, it looks really cool. But we start to get a little wonky. In my mind, there's things that I see how it's presented, but it gets a little wonky. And then when you find out, okay, fifth dimension, it's always going to get wonky.
Even the idea that we have Superman sucked through the portal with some of his animals from the zoo. And then we go to the Batcave where everything becomes wonky. A robotic T-Rex comes to life. Abe Lincoln comes out of the penny and fights the T-Rex. Everything is just going haywire. Superman's portal opens up in the Batcave. We have all these things going until Superman can shuffle them back through there just to find out, it's a fifth-dimensional imp doing this. And the idea that Mxyzptlk is here, but he needs help because the green, what was he called now? Because it was a combination of Green Arrow and Green Lantern, the Mite that we had before. I can't remember what he was called. It was a different name, which I think was just Green Mite because it was a combination of both of them, and it was all just mites, which always drives me nuts. But the idea that Bat-Mite and Mxyzptlk are here, but before they could ask the world's finest for help because of all these mites being killed off, we gotta do some wacky bullshit, huh?
I like the idea where at the beginning, that Batman is looking at the Bat computer, and I swear to God, he's like set up a memory game for Robin. Like, which one's that? Because all it is this rogues gallery just out there. And I'm like, what are you really doing there? You just have pictures of all them up. But then it switches into like hieroglyphics and it doesn't make sense. I do like at one point while we're reading this and they're like, all right, Bat-Mite. All right, Mxyzptlk. What's going on? Like, come on out. But you're right. All this nonsense happening.
All right, but this wasn't us. This time, I swear, Soups, we were riding on a wave of chaos magic that we didn't start. You gotta help us. We've been hunting. And I'm like, the wave of chaos magic you didn't start, but like, were you just sitting here invisible for a while while all this shit was going on? What do you mean you were riding on a wave of chaos magic to this point where shit just went haywire, both in the Fortress of Solitude and the Batcave?
Yeah, because you would expect that. I don't know.
Goofy shit. I know.
Maybe maybe that you could play. They were doing goofy shit, and then they were grabbed, and tried to warn them by like, "Oh, I have to do goofy shit," so they say our name or something, like Beyonce. I don't know, Eric, but the end of Mxyzptlk looks great. I really like that Mxyzptlk when he bloops in.
He's a bit scrawny for my likings.
I think I like him. You know, he hasn't been eating that fifth dimensional fast food. He's trimming up, but I do like some of the action, but it gets a little over the top, and it's to me it was hard to follow a little. And then Superman's yelling, they're not hostile, to set up the joke for them to eat all this stuff going on. But it sets up the next story, which is the fifth dimensional imps, and somebody's hunting them. I'll say you hate the fifth dimensional imps, but that's something a little different. It's something a little bit like you're actually telling a story. Maybe
we have imps hunting other imps. Yes, there might be somebody who's more diabolical as the head of this whole thing who's not an imp, but right now from what we saw in the annual, we just have a bunch of imps that are like versions of our villains and heroes, just called so-and-so Mite, which drives me nuts because you have Mr. Mxyzptlk here.
It was Shane.
Bat-Mite, and that's
in the fifth dimension. He's pissed off there.
But Shane's in the sixth dimension.
Well, maybe he lowered his level. Shane's done. I don't think he's anywhere. But yeah, we'll have to see who it is and what's going on. I don't know. It seems like at least it's not like it's setting up what should be a story, not just a wow moment of, hey, look at us, we're the mites.
I just don't know how our world's finest team are able to take on a Legion of Doom of mites.
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out and who it is and whatnot. It might just be...
Because Bat-Mite's harmless for the most part, and Mr. Mxyzptlk, he's got his own, like rules that he set for himself, so what does everybody else have? How do you defeat that when these two fifth-dimensional imps are like, oh, we need help because shit's gotten real?
Isn't that the mystery? And when shit gets real for a fifth-dimensional imp, it gets unreal. That's my joke, Eric. I'm interested to see how they play it out, but at least, like I said, it feels like it's setting up more of a story than just a, hey, let's be goofy. I mean, the idea that Greeny here, looks dead. Whether, you can't kill them probably will be the thing, but still, we'll see what it means. We'll see what it is. And then I thought, are we getting a hint? Because the way that arrow, and it's like kind of going, I thought it might have been spelling something. It's not, Eric.
The arrow is spelling something in his chest.
You see it where the plume is coming out, and it seems like it's kind of turning into smoke and stuff. I thought they were being clever with this, and I'm like, does that spell out something? Because I kind of see now.
Well, I'm not on the page anymore, but isn't it just a yellow construct of the Sinestro Mite?
No, there's an arrow, then there's the feather at the end, and then it kind of has like a dissipating kind of smoke type thing going from it, and I thought it might have meant something. Again, we're saying it doesn't, I don't think, maybe. But I didn't. I thought I was being like, oh, I'm going to solve the crime already before it's even a crime. But I do like the art in that back. I like the art in the front of it. I actually thought that this, again, I don't know if it's a timing thing for this, but like I said, there's a lot of problems here. And I'm like, this book has been goofy. It also reminds me, because we end up not only just having Shazam-esque thing, but also dinosaurs. So it reminds me of the Shazam that ties in. I'm like, I know what this book is, but it feels like, I wanted something with more substance, but I did have fun with it. It felt more like an annual than an actual anniversary, and an anniversary that might have been better suited to set this imp thing up a little more than just this backup. But what would you give it?
I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I just needed more from it overall, but there is some fun to be had with some good art. It's just everything about it, even the fifth dimensional imp stuff I thought previously in the annual that I thought It drives me nuts, yes, but like there could be something of substance to it. But for some reason, it never even dawned on me that it takes place in the past. So even the idea of this taking place in the past, it kind of takes the stakes out of it. Like, okay, everything's fine. I know it's going to be fine.
Okay, you're having some fun, but does it do anything? Does it get me excited? Does it make me feel like, oh man, this comic was worth it? And does it matter? Because in the end, I think that you would agree with me.
It doesn't matter.
But I'm actually higher than you because I did have fun with it. I'm actually a 7.5, which is way higher than you. I had fun with it, but by the end, it just ends up at one point on this podcast, Eric. You know what I mean? I mean, people starving for points. You end up where I don't feel like starving. I don't feel like I'm like, oh my God, that was great. Like it didn't do anything that I would say like would stick out. Like I'd say, you got to see this, you got to do this. It's just kind of there. I had some fun. I chuckled at some things. And that might mix up like, okay, I think that it might be cool, but it's not getting me to the milkshakes in the backyard.
Weird science
is the revolution.